to the position of Clerk Magistrate of the Chicopee District Court. I'm going to read the governor's letter to us. Dear councilors, I am pleased to nominate Barbara Y. Burton to the position of Clerk Magistrate of the Chicopee District Court. I submit this nomination for the advice and consent of the Executive Council pursuant to Part 2, Chapter 2 of the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. And I would like to start by introducing our counselors that are present, and that's Counselor Paul DiPaolo, Counselor Terrence Kennedy, Counselor Marilyn Petito-Devaney, and several of the counselors are going to be on WebEx. So we have also on WebEx this morning, Judge Sanabria Vega. Like your hair.
Thank you.
So with that said, any of the witnesses and the nominee, please raise your right hands to be sworn in. Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth as it relates to the matter now in hearing before this honorable body. Thank you. We're going to start with the witnesses who are here to testify in favor of the nominee. And I would also indicate Charles Gross, First Justice of the Westfield District Court, will be joining us on WebEx, I believe at 11:30. Is that correct? Well, he's also appearing on behalf of the second nominee, who is Brandon Freeman. So we were going to have him sandwich in between. So at this time, I would invite Clerk Magistrate John Gay to come forward and give his testimony.
Morning, everyone. My name is John Gay. I've been in trial court for 35 years this year, and it's my distinct privilege and honor to speak on behalf of my friend and colleague, Barbara Burton. I have known Barbara since 1997, but before I get into that, I want to thank the governor, and the lieutenant governor, and Judge Hurley for their advocacy for this outstanding candidate. If I had any criticisms, it would be that it's too late. Part of the fault of that is Barbara for not applying sooner. But I suggest to you all that you will not see or meet a finer candidate for clerk magistrate in your lives. And that's not hyperbole. That's my honest opinion. I have, as I said, I've been in the trial court for 35 years, 11 of which as clerk magistrate in Springfield. My first official act was to promote Barbara to first assistant clerk in recognition of the fact that she had been the acting clerk before, and then also in recognition of her incredible work. I know that our time is short here, and I don't want to monopolize the time because I really want you to get to know her incrementally as well as I know her. But I did want to read one particular thing that I'd like to share with you. These are my general remarks about Barbara. Candidate desires the position as a natural progression within a career dedicated to justice and public service. The candidate feels that she can be an important and successful element within the district court administration. She legitimately enjoys helping people, and she displays an empathetic quality that I've never seen before. These are all kind of trite words, and they may seem canned or rote, but the reason I bring them up is that these were my interview notes when I was on the panel interviewing her in 1997, when I didn't even know her. She was the consensus, unanimous choice for an assistant clerk position in 1997, and has done nothing but distinguish herself from dealing as, if you will, my assistant vice principal, dealing with petty issues of dress code, important issues like finding probable cause or fire captains in jeopardy of losing their jobs. She runs the gambit, and all the while her integrity is paramount. I have come to rely on her as a friend and as a colleague. I am going to be greatly bereft when she gets this job, as I know she will. But I wish her nothing but the best, and I welcome any questions that you all may have.
All right, any questions? Counselor Devaney?
Thank you.
your testimony. So you've known this nominee how many years?
Since 1997, so, yeah.
Wow. When you think of Barbara, what do you think of her, what she is going to bring to the bench as a clerk magistrate?
Well, I can tell that everything that she does stems from a root of empathy. She comes from a very interesting background where she is truly a woman of the people, and she is not above it in some sort of rarefied air where she thinks that things just exist in some sort of wild ethernet. They don't. Everything for Barbara is real, whether it's, like, as I said, dealing with something as trivial as the dress code to something as consequential as finding sessions to open up to relieve our backlogs in Springfield. She's a big thinker. So I'm not sure that's answering your question, Counselor.
That does. So she goes beyond to look further when someone's before her.
Oh, she transcends what's just the normal black letter law. She looks to the whole array of what's before her, recognizing the circumstances that people may find themselves in, adverse or otherwise. She's the real deal. I mean, I don't mean to get so common with my vernacular, but she's extraordinary, and you'll never meet a woman like her.
Yeah, that's great. Well, it's quite an honor for you to speak that highly of this nominee. Thank you very much. Your testimony means a lot to me.
Thank you, Counselor.
Anyone else? Counselor Kennedy?
How you doing in your new courthouse?
We need one.
No,
About $20 in my pocket.
You have to make a public plug.
Yeah, no.
I know you do.
Yeah, we're in desperate need. As you know, Counselor, the litigation is supposed to be teed up tomorrow. We're told that there may be a settlement in the offering, but it's been too many years and we've lost too many people to ALS.
I think the last time I was in the Springfield courthouse was about 20 years ago, and you needed a new one then.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you for your support.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions? Hearing none. Thank you very much. We will now hear from the Honorable Bethsaida Sanabria Vega, First Justice of the Chicopee District Court. Good morning.
Good morning. My intention was to be there live and in person. Unfortunately, on 291, my car decided to have an issue on the road, so we turned it around and I came to Chicopee instead, and now I'm here on WebEx. So sorry, Barbara, I wasn't there in person, but I wanted to, and you know I wanted to be there. So I've known Barbara since 1996, and I knew Barbara before I even knew who Barbara was. I was a law student. I had just graduated law school looking for a job. I had heard that they were hiring in the DA's office, went down to the courthouse and was completely overwhelmed by the Hall of Justice and Juvenile Court, had no idea where to go. And lo and behold, here comes a woman who saw me completely out of my element and asked if I needed any help. And I told her yes, that I was looking for a job, that I was looking to see, I heard that they were hiring in the DA's office, but I had no idea how to go about that. And so she gave me the information I needed, and she told me, she wished me the best. And that was Barbara. Barbara was the one who approached me, not knowing me from any other person. So as far as empathy goes, that's Barbara in a nutshell. And then fast forward, now I'm working in the DA's office, and she gets hired as an assistant clerk magistrate. Again, working with Barbara was amazing. As a prosecutor and then as a defense attorney, she was always there running the sessions, very well organized. And then now, as my acting clerk, I hands down in July of 2020, when Judge Walsh asked, told me, your clerk is going to be retiring. Think about who you're going to have as your acting clerk or who you would like. And I didn't have to think very hard. I just pretty much told her, I want Barbara Burton. Of course, I hadn't spoken with Barbara. So when I got home, I immediately called her and told her, listen, this is what I just told Judge Walsh. I hope I didn't overstep, because with Barbara, you know what you're going to get. She's a hardworking person, very well organized. And given the state that we were in with the pandemic, we needed someone who could go the mile and then some. And that's Barbara. She, came in ready to work. We were doing all of our sessions virtually. And although, she didn't necessarily, we had just started doing it virtually, so it was something very new for everyone. She was on it. She took notes. We went through how to log in, how to do breakout rooms. She had her notepad. She went line by line, kept her notes. I think I still have some of her notes in the courtroom on how to make sure we don't have feedback. Things that you would think weren't important, but are super important when we're trying to continue to do our work under the pandemic. So as far as her work ethic goes, she has done amazing with the small claims and with the show cause hearings. She goes into courtroom 2, has everything set up on Zoom. We'll start at 9. I think she might take like a 10-minute break and then goes right back in, and she's running through it. And I have to keep reminding her, court closes at 4:30 because she'll still be in her office till 6 or 7 o'clock in the evening working on her findings. That's the kind of worker that we have with Barbara. And the lawyers are thrilled to have her here. Everything just runs so smoothly here in the Chicopee District Court because we're a team, and that's what we need. We need people who will work together as a team, and that's why we need Barbara here on a full-time basis.
Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You can stay on if you want, watch the proceedings. You're welcome to do that. And at this time, is anyone else here who wishes to speak in favor of the nominee? All right. Is there anyone here who wishes to speak in opposition to this nominee? Hearing none, that portion of the hearing is closed. At this time, I would invite you, Clerk Burton, to give us your opening statement.
Good morning, and thank you, Regional Counselor. May I introduce my friends and family members who are here in support?
Absolutely, please do.
Thank you so much. First, my best friend, my confidant, and my sounding board, my son Kyle. This is my granddaughter Naya. She's in her freshman year at Suffield Academy. Her mom, a teacher in Springfield, Tammy Bailey. My sister, Diane Burton. My cousin, Gabrielle Lee. Her mother, my mother's sister, Merlene Lee.
In the governor's chair.
Very appropriate. That's my mother's representative. That's very appropriate. Not here in a position to support me specifically, but an assistant clerk magistrate from Springfield, whom I've known for many years, Shelley Sankar. Carmen Lozada Carroll, the office manager of the Springfield District Court. Carmen and I have known one another since high school. We were in a homeroom together, and we've worked together for the 28 years that I've worked in Springfield. A close family friend, Sherry Spears. Sherry and I have known one another since we were 10 years old. She's the longest friend I have. We try to avoid saying the oldest friend. And my niece, Adrienne Renee Burton, mom's on the side, that's Diane's brother, and my niece, Kishana Johnson. I want to thank my brothers and my sister who are not here and who yielded their seats in the room today to some of these up-and-coming family members so that they could have an opportunity to see justice, to see government at work. My mom is not present. I will be watching the hearing tonight with her at home. So thank you. Good morning, and thank you to the governor's counselors, to Governor Charles D. Baker and Lieutenant Governor Karen Polito. Thank you. Thank you for the time you spent with me and for the confidence and trust you've placed in me by nominating me to the position of Clerk Magistrate of the Chicopee District Court. Thank you to the governor's counselors and to Valerie McCarthy for the vital roles you fulfill in the nominating process. Thank you to Regional Counselor Mary Hurley for hosting this hearing today, and special thanks to both Judge Hurley and to Lauren Petrino Green for the guidance, the calm presence, and the wisdom and insights you've shared with me while guiding me through this process. Thank you, Chief Legal Counsel Robert Ross, for advancing my nomination. Again, to the Executive Director, Lauren Petrino Green, and to the members of the Judicial Nominating Commission. Thank you for the extraordinary energies you devote to the important work you do, and thank you for recommending me to the governor for this nomination. To the Judicial Nominating Commission staff, Deputy Director Emily Gauthier, and Program Coordinator Katie Babin, thank you for your guidance and for your assistance. To the Office of Bar Counsel, thank you for reviewing, evaluating, and reporting favorably upon my qualifications. Thank you to past, present, and late Chief Justices, Regional Justices, First Justices, Associate Justices of the Supreme Judicial Court, the Appeals Court, the District Court, and other court leaders whom I have had the honor to meet and to be inspired to excellence by. To the executive and administrative offices of the trial court and the several court departments, members of the Massachusetts Bar, Clerks Association, Chicopee District Court, Springfield District Court, and Roderick Ireland Courthouse employees, and to the communities they serve, and to my friends and colleagues in the Chicopee District Court and in the Springfield District Court clerk's offices, thank you so much for the pleasure of knowing you and a career well spent working with you. To my family, my ancestors, thank you for honoring me with the gift of your examples. Your examples of hard work, integrity, determination, resilience, and pride tempered with humility. To my mother, my late father, my son, my grandchildren, my siblings, aunts, uncles, nieces, nephews, cousins, and friends, thank you for being the love and the light in my life. My critical resources for enjoyment, my motivation to relax, and my havens for recharging. And thank you. My heart is filled with joy and gratitude for all the people that delivered me to the doors of the State House today, prepared to sit before this esteemed body. Thank you to everyone. In 1961, my strong, driven mother met a wonderful man named William Jackson. Margie and William's union was a true life example of a blended family like the Brady Bunch. Our family of 7 moved from Springfield's inner city to Westover Air Force Base, and then later back to Springfield's, to the suburbs, where we could have a better environment to live and grow in and better educational opportunities. While my friends and siblings were more interested in playing, my focus was always on school. I prided myself not only in excelling in my schoolwork, but also in cultivating positive relationships with my teachers. Arriving at the doorstep of single parenthood in my senior year of high school shifted and clarified my path. My priorities had to change from the immediate pursuit of my education to the immediate pursuit of economic self-sufficiency. Although the odds were not in my favor, I was determined to be successful and ensure that I beat the odds. Instead of going directly to college from high school, I worked for 10 years in a variety of secretarial, administrative, and supervisory positions. These positions taught me the value and the importance of hard work and gave me an opportunity to experience and learn the inner workings of running a business from the ground up. Attending night school as a single mother while working full-time taught me important time management skills and laid the foundation for the work ethic that afforded me the blessings of the many opportunities I have had. After completing a year of undergraduate coursework, I paused my studies to dedicate my full attention to my son. 4 years later, when he reached an age of greater self-reliance, I resumed my coursework, funding the first semester back in school with money I'd saved during the pause. Having achieved academic excellence during that semester, I was awarded full scholarships for the remainder of my undergraduate studies and through law school. I have had wonderful jobs and extraordinary educational opportunities and the support of a caring family and community. There is no one moment in my life that led me to be an attorney. Every moment and everything in my life that's happened over the course of my lifetime led me to the path I took. Because I believe in giving back, I chose to dedicate my time and talents to public service and the pursuit of fairness and justice. Becoming a lawyer allowed me to be the example for my son and my family. Becoming an attorney allowed me to be a proof of concept for single mothers who find themselves in the circumstances, facing the circumstances I faced. Working in the court over the years has enabled me to serve the community by becoming a familiar face that people can look to when they need help. Indeed, in 1961, B-52 tail gunner Master Sergeant William Jackson married Margie C. Jackson and embraced a family, claiming them as his own and placing me on the path I am on today. I'd like to just tell you a little bit more about my mom and dad, and I saved this to the end because I just think it's just so meaningful. When my mother met my father had 4 little stair-step children who were all under the age of 5. My father was at the time an Air Force man. He worked as a technical trainer and a B-52 tail gunner out of Westover Air Force Base in Chicopee. My brothers and sisters and I, the 4 of us, we were all born in Springfield. My mom lived in the inner city when she met my dad. My mother cleaned homes and cared for people in the community, in their homes and in Springfield's area hospitals and nursing homes. My parents established a culture of service in which we grew up and could take examples from in the home. They were both driven and hardworking. My dad remained in the Air Force and retired after 21 years. My mom was a nurse's aide for over 20 years. After retiring from the Air Force, they moved our family to 16 acres and both eventually came to work at Smith & Wesson as laborers. Both went to great pains to educate themselves, to improve their ability to support their family. My father worked full-time at Smith & Wesson, part-time at Grant's department store, and took classes at night at Springfield Technical Community College and Western New England College, earning his associate's degree and then his bachelor's degree, and also took courses toward his master's degree. My mom earned her GED while raising a family with 5 very young children. She also took classes at Springfield Technical Community College. My dad was eventually promoted to be a foreman. He was a foreman at Springfield Technical Community, at Smith & Wesson. My mom eventually earned a job in the office, but both of my parents desired to have more. And despite the fact that they had prepared themselves through work and through education, they both encountered a glass ceiling which they were unable to penetrate. Their journeys make my being here today profoundly meaningful and important for my family. I am the realization of my parents' dreams of unlimited opportunities commensurate with one's hard work, skill, and preparation. I'm happy to take any questions from the counselors.
Okay. I'd say that. I've been here before, so that's okay. Before we do that, I'd like to introduce retired Judge William O'Grady, who's with us today, and also Attorney Michael Fenton, who's with us today. At this time, I would entertain any questions for Clerk Burton? Joe Ferrara? Any questions?
Chairwoman. So we got to speak. Your counselor to my left here twisted my arm early on and said, "Oh, what a wonderful person you are." And, I read through all your stuff, all the altruistic stuff that you've done, helping out so many people in so many different ways. So I'm pleased to vote for you next week.
So much, Councilor.
Thank you.
All right, Counselor Robert Juvenile is with
Hello?
us.
Oh, he's
Can
on.
you, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, we can. Okay, thank you. Yeah, I've read your material and we've spoken. I have a couple of questions for you though. Would you tell me at a show cause hearing, what is the options for a clerk with regard to, after the evidence is taken?
Certainly, Counselor Jubenville, good morning. After the evidence is taken, the clerk has the obvious option to find probable cause or decline to find probable cause on the basis of the evidence and the law. If a finding of probable cause is made, the clerk has the option, the obvious option, to issue a criminal complaint. The clerk can also continue the matter for a period of time, holding it open in the clerk's office. There may be conditions that the parties might agree on in support of the continuance, and as long as the person charged or who would be charged lives up to those conditions at the end of the period of the conditions, the clerk has the ability to dismiss the case without a criminal complaint ever issuing and without that matter ever becoming a matter of public record.
Okay, can the clerk continue the matter for a length of time over the objection of the police prosecutor?
I don't believe that a clerk has that discretion, Counselor Jubenville. I believe there's case law on this point, and that the case law directs that if a clerk makes a finding of probable cause and the complaining party insists on a criminal complaint, that the clerk must issue the complaint. Does not mean that the clerk cannot inject into the hearing the perceptions of the parties, the facts, the circumstances, in an effort to perhaps, I won't say persuade, but to eliminate the other possibilities that the clerk might feel appropriate outcomes in that situation.
Okay, but the clerk can, or can a clerk not make a finding after listening to the evidence and continue it for a period of time?
Yes, a clerk can not make a finding. Yes, that's a possibility.
And is that the same for motor vehicle hearings that come before the clerk?
Well, there are two types of motor vehicle hearings that come before the clerk: the civil motor vehicle infractions, which
Yep.
I don't think that type of protocol applies to the civil motor vehicle infractions. It's finding of either responsible or not responsible, but the clerk has some discretion. In terms of criminal motor vehicle show cause hearings, I believe the clerk does have the same options.
Okay. And have you done a lot of show cause hearings?
I've done thousands.
And give me a ballpark percentage of the times that you have either continued or found for the citizen.
Many, many, many. There are many, more than I can count. I'd say there are times when I find that, the crime charge is not the crime, not the appropriate crime. There are times when probably also hundreds, maybe even thousands. I've probably done at least 10,000 hearings.
I've heard some criticism of you, not much, that you don't, you usually take the police prosecutor's side on clerk's hearings. Do you agree with that?
I don't think I'm there to take any side. I hear the evidence. I consider the elements of the crime, which is what the purpose of a show cause hearing is. It's a question on the sufficiency of the evidence. If I find that the evidence is sufficient, the evidence is sufficient.
Well, the clerk has discretion. You have discretion, right, to find whether or not there's it's sufficient or not, don't you?
I guess that I guess I see that more as your view of the evidence and the
Yeah.
credibility of the presentation.
Yeah.
The probable cause is low standard, and I don't really see that as an exercise of discretion. I see it as an exercise of the performance of my duties.
All right. Okay. Yeah, I think you've done a lot of good work over the years in the court system, and I've gotten some really good reviews from Attorney Franco and O'Donnell, and Judge O'Grady also gave me a pretty good endorsement of you. So with those three people in your corner, I'll be in your corner also next week when we vote.
Thank you, Counselor Chu.
You're welcome. Thank you, Counselor Hurley.
Thank you. Any questions, Counselor Kennedy?
Excuse me,
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I looked there and I saw him. Counselor Devaney.
thank you. I want to thank you, before you time me, Counselor Hurley, for allowing this nominee to have her wonderful family and friends here. Unlike another nominee, Judge D'Angelo was ordered not to bring anyone. He sat there alone with an empty chamber, no wife, mother who lives with them, 6 children who live with them.
Is there a
Not
question?
for anyone. So I thank you for allowing this. This is how it should be for everyone. We're a public hearing, everyone is invited. That's it. Okay, I think we're on the clock now. But there were votes taken while we were closed, and no one saw us while we had the closure of the public access. The council voted 7-1. 15-minute rule that they're timing us, so I'm talking fast. So had the nominees stopped in mid-sentence because my 15 minutes were up between us, and that's the total. The other thing is, now your hearing was timed. How outrageous, you were given 1 hour. Why is that? We have someone come in another hour. And I just want to say publicly, this
Point of information.
we're not supposed to.
Point of information.
It's public.
I scheduled it at 11:30, letting everyone know, the nominee included, that if Clerk Burton's hearing went further in time, that we were going to start when her hearing was finished.
No, it should be allowed 1 hour. The more people hear from you, the more people will know that you're qualified, your experience. This is not ran them through, get them through. I voted against a rule. I asked, I put up a rule and I made the motion that we only have 1 hearing a day. I voted out 7-1. I don't want to rush them through, no questions, few questions. That's not what it's about. Our goal is not to rush these through as fast as we can, as many as we can in 1 day. I want to hear from the nominee so that the people know, the people that are nominated by the governor are qualified or experienced, and give you the experience to talk on that. So that's it. The other thing is, because they're being rushed through so fast, 2 and 3 a day.
Is there a question in our future?
Is there a question, Counselor?
Very difficult to schedule to meet with everyone. So I have to say that publicly. I have no way to let people know that that's not what I was elected to do. It's such a pleasure meeting you. I wish but I'll tell you, there is no one that will go before you that would be in fear. And there's so many people that go to court and they are in fear. But you have such a personality that immediately when I met you and you smile, that means a lot when someone comes into the court. And I know Judge O'Grady, who I was very proud to vote for is a role model in that sense. So having said that, you did apply before. And that amazed me because you were 52 at that time, 9 years ago. I'm saying, why did they continue to refuse to have you as a clerk magistrate? I just don't understand.
I've never applied for a clerk magistrate position before. This is my first application for this position.
But in your documentation,
It says for judges or clerks.
excuse me.
I applied for a judgeship in 2000.
Oh, okay, all right, I'm sorry, I stand corrected. This is when we rush them all through. But I have to say that I like your experience. I like the experience that you've been a prosecutor, that you have been how many years as court magistrate, and I think that gives you a better idea about, you know, the court system. I like the programs you were involved in. Now, we don't have much time because the click on the clock. I want to know about the one that you had a program about youth, how you had youth before you in the court.
Would you clarify
It's a
which
program
question in
you were
particular?
involved in. Yeah. Oh, no, it's too hard to find and I'm being timed. You were involved in different programming and how youth is in the criminal courts, how you talked on that.
We had a juvenile diversion program when I was the attorney in charge of the Springfield District Court, Juvenile Court DA's office, DA's office. And in this program, juveniles who were charged with some set crimes, very minor crimes, and other crimes could have their cases diverted and moved out of the criminal system for counseling and programming, involvement in the community, and work off community service. And when those conditions of their diversion were completed, their cases would be dismissed.
I'm concerned about this, especially the last two commutations we had of two men who happen to be Black that got life sentences without parole. Do you think that there is racial disparity in the Massachusetts courts?
Yes, I do. Absolutely.
Yeah, I do too. Here 22 years, I see it. And the jury selection is concerning to me. One of the people who had a commutation, if he had two people of color, I'm sure that he would have got second degree. But this is really bothering me. How can we change that?
I think it starts with having, you know, sensitive, caring people who understand the reality of racial disparities and implicit bias in positions to make decisions, to look at all the facts and circumstances in each case, and make an effort to reach decisions and results that are fair and just in light of all the facts and circumstances.
And we talked about that, and it's not only being Black. I told you about the discrimination in my family, and my father, an Italian immigrant, they wouldn't let him work in Watertown. And he had to change his name, he went to court, and all of that. And my mother's brother wanted to be a fireman, they wouldn't allow a firefighter. So I know discrimination is, there's always someone on the bottom rung of the ladder, and I felt it too. I'm not going to get into that, but you know, we talked about it. But tell me, what, you know, you were a prosecutor. When you put all your experience together, what do you think it comes through? Some of the experience you had, or someone that you represented comes through that makes you a better person to be a clerk magistrate?
So many cases, Councilor Devaney, these cases present themselves every day, and they're real people facing real life crises and beset with real life difficulties. Her case as a prosecutor, a woman who was in court as a victim of a domestic abuse case. I'll never forget the case. I went to great lengths to convince her first and to assist her with obtaining an abuse prevention order. She did not believe that it would make a difference. The defendant, she thought, would kill her. And indeed, it was not long afterwards that his home on Sunday night listening to the news, and I heard we did. There are so many cases and so many, there are too many to mention.
Well, the clock's running, so I'm going to ask you, in your experience, and I love your age, I love the life experience that you bring. You know, a 40-year-old doesn't have that experience in going out in the community and working with people and doing the programs you did to talk to people. I love that. So is there one out of everything, when you were a prosecutor or as a magistrate, is there one case that will always stay in your mind that you've had, someone that came before you, and maybe it was very rewarding to you?
There really are many. I guess I would point to a case, I guess it's about justice, no matter what happens, and it may go to another point. It's a young man who was charged with sexual assault, an assault and battery. It was a very long, very hard-fought case. Several witnesses testified. The defendant was convicted. I remembered or realized while decompressing later that a limiting instruction had not been given regarding the testimony of some excited utterance. Fresh complaint witnesses. I contacted the prosecutor of that case to let that person know that I thought there had been a mistake and that it was reversible error. The case was overturned because of that, but that certainly stands out in my mind.
So, no, I really, it's very hard to be timed. I hate this rule that we could do this because there's so much I want to ask you about substance abuse. And you've lived it, you've had loved ones that you've lost from substance abuse. We're not winning the war on drugs. From the 70s, I've been hearing it. So what do you see when someone comes before you that's drug addicted? What can we do? We only have about 3 places to send them, and they're not adequate. They're not adequate, and the women don't want to go to Framingham prison, and the men don't want to go to a prison for, you know, substance treatment. So what do we do? What would you say that should be done about substance abuse and reaching out to these people? I've had 2 friends that lost their sons to overdose of heroin, and they're not criminals. I don't know how they got involved, but they didn't have a long-term treatment center to go. They'd go to something for a weekend or whatever, and my friend would go to different drug treatment for, you know, for the relatives. It doesn't work. What can we do? We have to get the legislators to vote for more treatment centers. And I haven't looked at it this year, but it was something like 1.25% of the budget is going to judicial. How can we change it? What can we do about substance abuse? And I think it's increased in the pandemic, don't you think?
Certainly saw more cases of petitions for commitments for substance abuse during the pandemic. There can be no doubt, no question about that. And I do agree that the resources are limited and we need more resources to address these problems. However, that said, I have not yet seen a situation where a person in need of services was turned away or not accommodated. In any of my time working in the court. So I think that, you know, the people who work in the court bend over backwards to identify resources to give people the help that they need.
And this also follows into child abuse. You know what I was concerned about with this whole shutdown, the pandemic? How do we know the children that are being abused? Because if a child is being abused, they go to school and they weren't going to school. And they could tell the teacher, or if they did, the teacher would see some signs, whether it was physical or whether they were acting, or maybe there was a bruise or something. So have you seen that in you know, as a clerk magistrate, that's the pandemic has increased child abuse. People are out of work, they have mental disorders, they have substance disorders, and so it leads to that.
I can't say that, I cannot say that I've seen an increase specifically
We don't know.
in my
do we? We don't
experience.
know. That's the point, we don't know, you know, and what bothers me is during the pandemic, what really concerns me is the 209As. You get someone that is abusing their wife or their child, and you're watching them on Zoom, or even some of the courts on the phone. How can you look at this person and really know if they're being truthful? That's what I was concerned about. Now, I think now they are coming back in the court, are they?
They are. Yes.
But did you see that? That was very difficult because you don't see their body language. When you talk to someone, you look them in the eye. Do you know what I mean?
I think that, you know, we were all faced with tough circumstances in the pandemic, and I think that, you know, we had to do the best that we could accommodate the needs of the people who come to court for help.
Right. So you had to have a special relationship with the judge during this pandemic. And how did you work that out? That you weren't in person with these people? How did you work that out?
I'm not sure what.
Well, I'm saying that you have to have a judge to work it out. Maybe you're in court sometime, maybe that person is, maybe you're together, I don't know. But now you're all in court, is that correct?
When you say you're all,
Are you talking about judge, clerk magistrate?
Yes,
People coming before the court?
yes. Everyone is in the court and in the courtroom now. Yes.
Yeah, that's important, isn't it, huh? So, okay, now, what would you say needs to be improved in the courthouse where you probably will be assigned?
I'd say I've already improved everything. That's a joke. Let me think about that in Chicopee. I think that, you know, we all, would hope will continue to improve ourselves, to improve upon our relationships. We have strong collaborative relationships, but they can be improved. So that certainly is an opportunity and an area that I think, you know, we can do some work on.
So when you think of being a prosecutor and being a magistrate, what kind of things do those two roles make you a better clerk magistrate?
I'm sorry, being a prosecutor and being a.
Yeah, I mean, there are things that you learn from both roles.
Being a prosecutor, what was the other role? I'm sorry.
You were magistrate for what?
Right, the same job that I'm doing. Yeah. I guess just, you know, having had the experience, it broadens, you know, my perspective. I encounter situations that I've dealt with in the past. It's helped build tools for dealing with those situations as I go forward. I am known not only by the attorneys who come to the court, but by many of the litigants. Some of them, you know, ask for me by name. Some of the most challenging litigants or parties who come to the court, people with mental health issues, people with substance abuse issues. There are some fun people who really don't want to speak to anyone else. So, you know, I've been there to build those relationships. I've been there to serve as a resource. You know, people know I'm there. They know who I am. They know that I'm going to bend over backwards to do everything to assist them.
Thank you very much.
I guess they're going to ring the bell now. It's time. I just wanted to thank your father for his service and your whole family's service. It really is a.
Thank you. Your time is up. Thank you.
Most ridiculous rule I've ever heard.
Councilor Ianello.
Thank you very much. What a nice resume. Very nice. You know, I have a lot of questions, but when you look at this, you know, you're going to be a clerk magistrate. Well, let's just look at it. You've been assistant clerk magistrate for 15 years, give or take. The first assistant clerk magistrate for 8 years. And now you're the acting clerk magistrate, pro temp, for 2 years. You live in Springfield, the clerk magistrate's position that we're talking about is like Chicopee. I mean, I can't think of a more ideal candidate than you. So you have my whole heart support. Your counselor, very supportive of you. With a resume like this, it's a real easy decision for me, and I wish you and your family the best.
Thank you so much, Counselor. And,
Counselor Kennedy.
My main question is, why aren't you applying for a judgeship?
I think,
You are more than qualified to be a judge.
thank you so much.
You're certainly qualified to be a clerk magistrate. There's no question about that. I got what Council Juvenile was asking you about, being, tend to go with the police in clerk hearing situations. My experience is that when push comes to shove, most clerks will, because they're working with them every day, unless it's completely not there. But if they want a complaint to issue, they're going to get it. You agree with that?
So Kennedy, it's my view that, the case law,
Yeah, probable cause is there. The police prosecutor wants it.
it's my discretion in those situations.
You know, and I get that. That's why I spend most of my time working on the police prosecutor before I get in the room. But I say that just to be fair to you, because I think that's pretty much the common practice across. If it's not by law, it's the practice. When they want it, they're going to get it, because that's what the law says. That said, I find that a lot of cases are able to be resolved at the clerk's hearing level, because usually the police prosecutors are interested in helping people just like the clerks are. That's my experience, and I've only been doing it for 39 years, so I'm kind of new at it. But anyway, we had a great talk on the phone. It was very pleasant. You answered all of my questions. I'm going to reiterate what Councilor Iannella said. It's when you look at your resume, it's like, wow. He only left out one thing. You were also the acting clerk in Springfield too. You know, so it's your second round as acting clerk. So you've done the job for a long time, more than qualified. Councilor Hurley's a huge fan. She twisted my arm as well before I even looked at anything, talked to you, or anything else. I was worried I was going to have to bring a complaint against her.
Stop.
But, so I'll be voting for you next week. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Counselor.
The LG is ready. Do you have a lot of questions, or?
If the LG is ready, I would be happy to change over to assembly. Yeah.
All right. So everybody can stay where they are, but we're going to have our assembly, which is the portion of our meeting where the lieutenant governor comes in to chair the meeting, and then we go back to finish your hearing. So it'll just be a few minutes. Everybody can stay where they are, and I expect the lieutenant governor will be here momentarily.
I don't know if they finished their papers or not, but three people will get.
Yeah, I gotta be honest. That's the big enchilada.
Yes,
He's on a phone call.
Why don't you go?
Why don't you go to Paul and we'll finish up? We'll be done.
Oh, Counselor DePaolo, why don't you
Questions?
Paul asked, Barbara, his question.
come on up?
Good point, yeah.
Go ahead, Paul.
Pressure. I'll be quick.
Thank you, Paul.
Because a lot of issues have been addressed. But would you consider applying for a judgeship in the future?
That's a yes.
Next.
I think you should consider it because I've seen I see the resume, and it's more qualified than a lot of judges I see, and I don't mean to imply that judges I voted on have been unqualified.
Thank you so much, Mr. DiPaolo.
I do want to ask just a couple questions about some stuff that's come up. You're serving on a committee to eliminate racism and other systemic barriers. What kind of initiatives are going on there?
So it's a broad initiative within the trial court. We're looking at every aspect of not only operations, human resources and things like that, to the trials, how jurors are summoned, how the census factors in, and how issues like mandatory statutory juror disqualifications impact on availability in the pool.
So of those myriad things, what do you consider the most pressing issues to address?
I'm personally impacted. That's right, Councilor DiPaolo, by issues of systemic racism. The aspect of statutory or mandatory juror disqualifications is particularly important to me.
One of the, and that is a concern, and another concern I have is at the charging phase of things. Because we see that, and that's why I was interested in the discussion of show cause, et cetera. But so, for example, when a Black or Latino person is this concurrent jurisdiction between district and superior, they're twice as likely to end up in superior and thus be exposed to lengthier sentences. Is that a phenomenon you believe exists?
Absolutely.
Do you feel you've seen it happen? Among the things you're talking about, I heard you mention even court staff. Do you think representation matters in our justice system? In other words, representation of diverse backgrounds and perspectives, racially and otherwise?
Yes.
And you've worked in the juvenile court, and I heard you talk about trying to use diversion programs on nonviolent youth in particular, and perhaps others. Does representation matter in the juvenile court in your estimation?
When you say representation, are you talking about diversity, that type of representation?
Yeah, my anecdotal experience working with court-involved youth, who are Black or Latino in particular, is what they tell me is that representation does matter. Or I infer that from what they tell me about their attitude and experience towards their court involvement. Do you think that my anecdotal experience hearing from these children is accurate? Do you think children perceive things that way?
Yes, I think absolutely. I'm the mother of a young Black man raised in the inner city of Springfield.
I feel very strongly that since there are plenty of qualified Black attorneys and Latino attorneys, that we should have representation on the bench in our juvenile courts. Do you think that would be a good thing for the Commonwealth?
Yes, of course.
Would it be good for our children?
Yes, of course.
Would it help potentially address some of the racial disparities that exist in the system?
Hope so.
We can hope so, yeah. Let's strike that. It would be likely not to hurt. Wouldn't exacerbate those things? Okay, I won't prolong things because we've heard a lot of topics discussed. Again, your resume is outstanding. I hope you'll consider applying to be a judge in the future.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. We have one more witness. Judge Gross, are you available? Judge Gross, there you go. This is for the hearing for Barbara Burton, Judge Gross.
Oh, that's a pleasant surprise. I am more than happy to testify for Barbara, Miss Burton. It's a pleasure. Good morning, Councilor Hurley, and good morning, members of the council. I've known Barbara for 20 plus years. When I started as a lawyer, Barbara was someone that we looked at, young African-American professionals in the legal field looked at as somebody who we could strive to emulate. She was very composed, professional, and was handling responsibilities almost as a pioneer. And we looked up to her. I certainly did. Even though we are contemporaries, it's fair to say that she was achieving at a very high level very early on in her career. Her experience both in the district attorney's office and in the criminal defense realm and then administratively in the clerk's office, it speaks for itself. Her life journey, the fact that she's embedded in the community of Springfield, that she's born and raised in Springfield, and has really been a representative of the best of what Springfield has to offer. A lot of times, folks, when people of color come before bodies like this, we're expected to be almost perfect, unscathed, unblemished, untarnished. Whereas other folks, it appears, sometimes receive the benefit of just being qualified. Barbara is much more than qualified. I heard the Councilor DiPaolo talking about the bench. I wholeheartedly agree, 1,000%. It's been a pleasure working with her. I'm going to tell you the truth. It's been a pleasure working for her, because when she's running the clerk's bench and I'm in the judge's seat, I'm really following her lead, and I'm a passenger on a ship that's being captained by a very competent captain indeed. So I don't have anything and I don't think you'd find anyone who would have anything negative to say. She's a real human being. I mean, I'm not here to deify her or anyone else for that matter. But would she benefit the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and the citizens that she'd serve? Absolutely, unequivocally, and has done already throughout her career, and would do so with any opportunity she's given.
Thank you,
So,
Judge Gross. I'm going to ask you to hold on for just a minute. The Lieutenant Governor is here for our assembly. We're
Oh,
going
yeah.
to take a couple of quick votes and then we'll get back to you.
okay, sure, sounds good.
Lauren? Lauren? Here.
Today?
Thank you. Today, I ask that we take a moment of silence to think of the people of Ukraine who continue to suffer amidst a senseless war.
Yes.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
Nation under God.
justice.
Okay, I recognize Councilor Ianella for a motion to record advice and consent for the financial warrant.
Thank you. So moved.
Second.
It's a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Recognize Councilor Kennedy for a motion to record advice and consent for the pending list of notaries, public, and justices of the peace.
So move, Governor.
Second.
It's a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We have 3 new nominations today. Erica Paula Reese has been nominated to the position of Associate Justice of the Boston Municipal Court. Councilor Ianella. That's what they. Katie Rayburn has been nominated to the position of Associate Justice of the Superior Court. That's also in your district, Councilor Ianella.
Same thing.
Same thing, okay. And Sarah Wheeland Ellis has been nominated to the position of Associate Justice of the Superior Court, and that's within your jurisdiction, Councilor.
I can find the envelope. It's 2 weeks from today. I don't have a calendar. I just got this today. I haven't even opened it. I would ask, I respectfully ask that, that the counselor who has 2, please do not schedule them the same day. Let's give every nominee the respect they deserve and not whip them all through. I asked for a motion to only have 1 a day. You people voted 7-1 against it. And I asked for reconsideration, it didn't work. I'm making that plea now. I will make mine 2 weeks from now, and I hope it'll be the only one, and out of respect, I hope the council will honor that.
Is the date, please?
18.
And that date is
May 18.
1 o'clock.
What time?
I just said it, 1 o'clock. Okay? Thank you very much.
Okay, and then we will hear back from you, Council Ianella, relative to the date and time of the other nominations that we've made today. That concludes this assembly. Thank you. Have a great rest of the day.
Thank you, Governor.
Judge Gross?
Yes, sorry. Okay.
Thank you. All right. Does anybody have any questions for Judge Gross? Hearing none, thank you very much for your testimony on Barbara Burton's matter. Since I'm the last one to get to ask questions, hearing is over.
Thank you so much.
Thanks very much.
Thank you. We're gonna let the folks switch out. Judge Gross, it'll be just a couple of minutes. We'll get the other folks in and you'll be ready to go on the other one.
Okay,
Thank you,
sounds
everyone.
good. Thank you, Counselor.
This is I'm calling to order the hearing of Brandon D. Friedman to the position of Associate Justice of the District Court. And at this time, the witnesses are here. Judge Gross is on WebEx. Kellyanne Sanker is here, and Jason Martens is also going to be on WebEx, correct?
That's correct.
All right. So I'll start by reading the letter from the governor. Dear counselors, I'm pleased to nominate Brandon D. Freeman, position of Associate Justice of the District Court. I submit this nomination for the advice and consent of the Executive Council pursuant to Part 2, Chapter 2 of the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. And this time, I would introduce Counselor Ferrara, Counselor Marilyn Petito Devaney, Counselor Iannella.
Thank you very much. I just want to say one thing.
Yes.
A great supporter of yours. Thank you. Very, very supporter. I think you're going to be a great judge, Beth.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Counsel.
Counselor Kennedy is here, but, and also Counselor DiPaolo.
Good morning.
Good morning. At this time, I would ask that anyone who is going to testify in favor of the nomination of Brandon D. Friedman, please raise your right hand. Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth as it relates to the matter now hearing before the council. Thank you. All right, first we're going to call on Judge Gross. I know you have a drug court session to get back to. Thank you for accommodating our schedule.
Sure,
Gross.
absolutely. Thank you very much, Councilor Hurley. And again, good morning to members of the Governor's Council. I don't know if you recall, but about a year ago, I had the pleasure and the opportunity to testify before this body regarding, at that time, Attorney Trevon Bailey, who now is Judge Bailey. And I think I said at that time to one of the counselor's comments about what an outstanding candidate Attorney Bailey was, that there was a lot of talent in Western Massachusetts, a lot of fantastic professionals of color who were well-deserved to receive the opportunity to serve their communities from the position of the bench. Since that time, we've had Attorney Danielle Williams, who the council confirmed. We have Magistrate Burton, and now we have Attorney and hopefully soon to be Judge Brandon Freeman. That is indicative and a true manifestation of the talent that is in Western Massachusetts for people of color in terms of the opportunity of the bench. And I want to commend and recognize Councilor Hurley for supporting that and encouraging that. It's a long time coming. I've known Brandon, Attorney Freeman, for over 20 years as well. And we actually shared office space together. I remember seeing him initially when he was at the DA's office and recognizing his talent at that particular time. Level-headed, professional, always prepared, and dealt a fair hand. If he had it, he pursued it. If he didn't, he let you know that, and we were able to resolve matters practicing together on opposite sides. And then I recall him coming to me with a very important life decision. Should he go into private practice? Should he stay in the DA's office, and opportunities that would be available to him with each particular choice? I provided him with some counsel, let him know that if he decided to go the route of private practice, I perhaps could help him with office space, and was very pleased to hear that he wanted to bet on himself and go into private practice. He was an outstanding practitioner. We had the privilege of practicing together for about 8 years. And so, you know, when you practice with someone, you spend almost more time with that person than you do with your family. And I think it's fair to say that Brandon and I became like family. And for those of you who have been in that situation, you know, I have a great deal of love and respect for his wife and his children, and how they've just done a fantastic job, very young, taking on extremely important responsibilities and raising a beautiful family, and have had success themselves individually, but collectively really is what is most impressive. Attorney Freeman comes from a fantastic lineage. You know, it's rare for anyone to see, you know, to come from, you know, one of your parents was a lawyer, etc. Even rarer, unfortunately, for an African American. But Brandon has that lineage. His father is a renowned attorney in Connecticut. A guy who, quite candidly, to show my age and his father's age, was a guy I remember seeing his ad in the Northeast Agent, which was a local Black-owned newspaper in Hartford, Connecticut. I remember seeing Don Freeman's ad as an attorney, and I remember thinking to myself, even in high school, like, wow, I had not seen that very often, a Black male attorney, and I thought to myself, the seeds of that ambition, of that dream, were planted in that. I had no idea that life would bring me to the point where one day I would meet his son and have this relationship, both professionally and personally. So there's a lineage there. There's a very special mystique that I think this also addresses. He's an outstanding practitioner. You guys have seen his resume, his qualifications, both criminal, in fact, he prosecuted and defended, civil. He worked as a magistrate in the state of Connecticut. He's handled litigation on all levels. You really can't get more qualified than that for any court, let alone the district court. But I also think it's who he is as a person, a father, a son, an athlete,
Holy Ghost.
college athlete. I'm sorry?
Don't say Holy Ghost.
Oh, no, that's right. That's right. Not the Holy Ghost. Absolutely. But all these things, they all go into this this fantastic mix that makes who he is. So I'll end by just saying I congratulate the governor for this fantastic nomination. I urge the council to support it. He's an outstanding candidate, and I'm already pleased to have him as a colleague and as a friend in the law, and now looking forward to having him as a colleague on the bench.
Thank you very much. Any questions of Judge Gross? Counselor Devaney?
I just want to welcome you back. How
Thank
long
you.
has it been, Judge?
Oh my goodness, that's So I celebrate my 10-year anniversary this month, Counselor.
How many years has it been?
10.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I know.
Well, we haven't seen you.
I was here for another outstanding candidate, Tina Cafaro, quite recently. So I had the
Your
privilege.
service. Can you tell me or tell us one attribute that you think this nominee will bring to the court?
Perspective, I think, is probably, if I had to hone in on one word, perspective. Attorney Freeman has had these different experiences from the perspective of a criminal defense lawyer, a district attorney, and a civil practitioner. He has the perspective of a father. He's been, as I said before, the son, and not the Holy Ghost, but the son of a very famous and accomplished lawyer. So he has these very different perspectives that are very interesting. A college athlete, that I think all will assist him, because the district court, as we know, is the court of the people. It's everyday people that come in, and they're looking for second chances. Sometimes they have to be redirected. These things are very important to be able to look at and have real life experiences behind it. So I think that Attorney Freeman has an abundance of real life experience that he'll bring to the position that is going to enhance and assist him in his ability to execute the important function that we have.
Thank you.
Well, your testimony means a lot. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Any other questions?
Absolutely.
Hearing none, thank you very much for your testimony.
Absolutely.
And go back to work.
I know. Back to work. Good luck, Attorney Freeman.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
All right, you got it. Take care.
Here. And you're doing a great job in Westfield District Court. Thank you. All right,
thank you
at this
very much.
time, you bet. At this time, we'll hear from Jason Martens. He is an Assistant Chief Probation Officer in the Springfield District Court, but he's here at his own capacity as a citizen and someone who knows our nominee, Brandon Freeman, very well. So we'll hear from you now, Jason. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Good morning to the remainder of the counselors in the room, and good morning to Brandon. I've known Brandon for about 15 years now, when I first started as a probation officer in Springfield District Court. Ever since I've known Brandon, I have always had respect for him. I've observed him on many occasions in the courtroom. He's always carried himself with respect. He's very level-headed, and all his recommendations, are found to be just. He's always looking at the perspective of not just his client, public safety. If there's a victim involved in the situation, it's just the way he carries himself, and he's very, always communicating with prosecution, the probation department. If he ever has any questions, he'll be the first one at the counter, asking if certain things are available, what type of programs are available to his clients, and that's a good trait. The questions he asks, rather than going into the courtroom and just assuming things and putting him out there, and then we have to delay time and just get back to where we started. So that component, to myself at least, shows that he can make good decisions on the bench. If not, he would step things back, and that those type of things are very important in the courtroom. Also, one of the things that Brandon recognizes is we have a lot of substance use disorder in this country, and it's a disease. And we have a drug court in our Springfield District Court, and it's very important that you all know that Brandon's made numerous recommendations to our drug court. This is a high-risk, high-need drug court. It triggers a high-risk and high-need population out there. It's intensive treatment, and it's very difficult to persuade an individual to engage in a drug court. And Brandon's made numerous recommendations, and you must know that it's very important for a judge to understand the substance use disorder out there. He's, even during COVID, he's reached out to our office, asking what's out there for individuals, what treatment can I offer my client? He wants to get back on track. And during COVID, it was very difficult, but the way he communicated with us, we can almost have a seamless transition into individuals getting back on track with their lives when they have some significant co-occurring disorder. So that's a very big trait that I think is good for Mr. Freeman having. He is very level-headed. The qualities that he has that I've spoken about, I think will allow him to make sound decisions on the bench. And I hope to be working with Mr. Freeman one day.
Thank you. Any questions of this witness? Hearing none. Thank you very much, Mr. Martens.
Thank you.
Jason's wife served me as a probation officer in the Chicopee District Court. She did a great job of that. I think she's out in Belchertown now, is that correct?
She is, Your Honor.
And how many kids?
2.
All right, keep it going. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you. Good luck, Brandon.
Thank you. All right, at this time, we'll hear from Shelley Sankar, who is an Assistant Clerk Magistrate in the Springfield District Court. Thank you.
Good afternoon, counselors. I've been part of the child court community for over 20 years. During that time, I've worked as a victim witness advocate in the district, the juvenile and superior courts. I've also worked as an assistant district attorney in the district and juvenile courts. I've been an assistant clerk magistrate, cross-designated and assigned to the housing, district, and juvenile courts. And I'm currently the assistant clerk in charge of jury. I say all of this to let you know that I have many years of experience in various courts. I've observed and watched closely many judges that I've been in contact with, and I'm here to fully support Brandon Freeman for the district court vacancy. For the past 18 years, I've had the pleasure of working with and observing Brandon both in his district court practice and as an assistant district attorney and as a defense attorney. He possesses all of the qualities which would make an outstanding judge. He has demonstrated an ability to multitask. He does this with grace and professionalism. He treats everyone with respect and compassion. By doing this, he instills confidence in the legal process. He possesses a very strong work ethic. He's intelligent, he's personable, and he's very diligent and generous with his time. As many of you know, Springfield District Court is one of the busiest courts in the Commonwealth. It's often a contentious place to practice law. However, Brandon has always been, throughout all of these years, consistently patient and thoughtful, whether he is interacting with his clients, the opposing party, or any court staff that he comes into contact with. He embraces all challenges, and he's dedicated to following the rule of law. By all facets, Brandon is an exceptional candidate. I'm confident he would be a great addition to the district court. In closing, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to speak on his behalf. I fully support his nomination and ask that you vote in favor of his confirmation.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Councilor Devaney.
Thank you for testifying. I don't believe you've been working 20 years.
I
It must have been 10.
I have a great colorist.
But tell me, working at him, what, is there any, do you work with them closely every day? And
Not every day. During the pandemic, I'm not in the courtroom as often. However, we communicate often by phone, by email. Anytime he has any
see why they haven't brought it through, because it's far and few between. The hell happened to me? Yeah. Keeps not being. Sorry. Oh, wrong one. Oh, no. Sorry. Yeah. Can't get on. Is there no service here?